West Germany's 81st Catholic Day began in a unique fashion. The town of Bamberg, formerly the site of the bishop's residence, rang out with the sound of Spanish and Portuguese of the church. Contemporary questions were animatedly discussed by laymen and clergy, and Professor Otto Roegele, who spoke at the concluding ceremonies, indicated that it was a day of anything but passive acceptance. He said,
Wir wollen den Schutt der Jahrhunderte forträumen.
We want to remove the rubble of centuries past and thereby clear a direct path to the church. The professor exhorted everyone to carry the fact of this recently begun dialogue throughout the world and to utilize its discoveries in forging cooperation between all faiths in today's changing world. In Bonn, French President Charles de Gaulle's working visit took place in a friendly atmosphere. It was one of the many exchange visits called for in the French-German Friendship Pact. A series of political and economic questions had arisen in recent months between the governments of both countries, which required solutions. The Bonn talks provided extensive agreement on the most important questions. Chancellor Ludwig Erhard again noted the desire to cooperate with the eastern countries. President de Gaulle noted, as he had on his recent trip to Russia, that a unified Europe is unthinkable without a unified Germany. The zonal borderline which divides Germany is approximately 925 miles long. One of the 4 crossover points, which is still open, is located at Helmstedt. This vehicle checkpoint for Berlin-bound traffic has often made international headlines. The western town of Helmstedt, with its 30,000 residents, lies within the shadow of the borderline. Over 1,000 years old, Helmstedt was a vital turnover point in commercial circles during the Middle Ages, servicing East Germany all the way to the Baltic Sea. Memories of that period remain in the old guildsmen's houses, such as the Duke of Braunschweig's Gasthaus. In 1576, the Duke founded a university here, and the Renaissance building still stands. It currently hosts concerts and cultural events of every imaginable variety. At St. Marienberg, a former Augustinian monastery, we find a valuable collection of middle-aged altar cloths, linens, and tapestries. The various cloths used in celebrating Mass are still embroidered with the same technique so widely advocated during the Middle Ages. Helmstedt's economic foundation lies in its extensive lignite deposits. The borderline, however, cuts right through the deposits. The western briquette factories produce over 1 million tons annually. The site of former fields, meadows, and forests now abounds with open lignite beds and slag heaps. Lignite mining is strictly a daylight operation. The topsoil covering the mineral deposits is systematically cleared with conveyor dredgers. Until 1952, the mining operation was run on a co-op basis by East and West, but the East then closed the border. Since the power works were on the eastern side, a new power plant had to be built to service Helmstedt and nearby Braunschweig. Helmstedt is also an example which amply illustrates the senselessness of the division of Germany. In recent months, a fleet of Boeing 707s has been flying a very special cargo to West Berlin, landing regularly at Tegel Airport. On hand to inspect the newly arrived cargo, a veterinarian. The cargo consists of cows from the Federal Republic, which are brought to Berlin to replenish the animal stock in the city, which has suffered since the Soviet zone took steps to impede the transportation of hoofed animals via the established overland route. Berlin in the summer of 1966. Population of the western sector, 2,186,800. Available space, 300 square miles, which averages out to 6,227 residents per square mile. But when the weather is warm, it's time to visit the Wannsee. The others are already there. A stone's throw from the beach, we find idyllic quiet, the perfect setting for the new health sanitarium. Highly recommended for the totally pooped as well as the semi-exhausted, the area abounds in leafy paths, the famous Berlin air, and a beautiful view of Havel Lake. Those suffering from metabolic and circulatory ailments are treated here with all the benefits of the latest discoveries in the field. Berlin, the summer of '66. August 13th was the 5th anniversary of the arbitrarily created wall. It has divided the city for 5 years now, separated families, and has made the eastern border guards enemies of their own people. The regime in the Soviet sector continues building up the wall. The deadly no-man's land strips are being widened. In these last 5 years, many East Germans have risked fleeing to the west, but it meant death for 58 of them. Close to the wall, we find the new Philharmonic Hall, a unique structure without as well as within. The orchestra plays in the middle of the hall, literally surrounded by the public. The building was designed by Hans Scharoun, one of the leading masters of modern German architecture. His goal with this structure was to organically unite space, man, and technology. Professor Joseph Keilbert conducts the Berlin Philharmonic in a rehearsal of the first movement from Beethoven's 8th Symphony. Friday evening in Friedenau. The Press Cafe holds a funny, festive auction. Books, mostly those gems from Grandma's days, go under the gavel. This book auction was an idea of several college students in Berlin. Everyone can take part since the prices never rise above pennies. Touching love stories from the turn of the century are especially popular, with exaggerated historical novels running a close second. Anyone interested in savoring the sprightly Berlin humor need only visit the Presse Cafe. With just a touch of irony in his voice, the assistant proudly reads the impressive names involved in this masterpiece. Author, publisher, and illustrator, three never-to-be-remembered geniuses. Or is it genies? The auctioneer spurs the action on, pointing out the flowery, tear-filled passages between the proud covers of this winner. Dig deep into your pockets, folks. Do I hear 8 cents? I have 9 cents, and so on. Berlin, summer of 1966. A city of many faces, industrial center and home of the arts. And despite division and political pressures, Germany's capital. Germany's national track and field championships get underway in Hanover with a surprise. Franz Josef Kemper sets a new European record in the finals of the 800-meter run, 1 minute, 44 and 9/10 seconds, a time which should place him among the favorites at the upcoming European Championships in Budapest. National champion in the javelin, Eugen Stumpp, with a toss of 78 meters, 76. The pole vault, complete with a strong side wind. Klaus Lehnertz wins with a vault of 4 meters, 80. Krivec from Mainz wins the hop, step, and jump with a jump of 15 meters, 95. The 110-meter hurdles. 31-year-old Hinrich John wins national honors for the 3rd time in 14.1 seconds. And then it was time for the second surprise of the meet. In the women's 100-meter dash, Hannelore Trabert sets a new German record with a time of 11.4 seconds. The rest of the field came in under 11.6, providing one of the finest finishes in women's track events in recent years. The new high jump champion, Ingomar Sieghart, the only man to clear 7 feet. On the distaff side, Friederun Valk wins top honors with a jump of 5 feet, 6 inches.